Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Coin Geek Weekly live stream, live from the new forward operating base. I'm in South Florida. For those of you who have been waiting to hear where I'm going to land, the answer is South Florida. I'm not giving the town away, but I'm somewhere between Broward and Palm Beach County, in the center of the madness, so that I can be part of everything going on in the most tropical place in the United States, aside from Hawaii. It's been a hell of a journey. I've basically been on the road for the last 5 weeks, got an exhausted family, wondering where the heck grandma is and everything else. So I'm sorry, Natalie, Ronan, and Molly. I promise it will be worth it to hang out at the new place once we finally land. So I'm sitting in a temporary location where I can do the broadcast for your sake, the fans, and I like it too. So it's a pleasure to do these weekly live streams with you and answer your questions, comments, blessings, cursings, gripes, or gropes live on the air, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk a little bit about a couple of things before we start. First, my guest is going to be Joe DePinto, who's a guy I did not know until I met him in the lobby of the Dolder Grand in Zurich. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know, frankly, that he existed. And he walks into the lobby and starts talking and introduces himself. And then, oh, you're the guy from Haste. This is great. And we ended up having a really good time together. We hung out a little bit, basically each day that we were in Zurich. Spent some time at the spa on the first evening and some other stuff too. And we had a really good time. And I'm really excited to bring Joe on to talk about Haste and talk about everything else going on in the ecosystem, but that'll be in just a few minutes. Before we kick over to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about, first of all, the average block size on BSV is something that just until about 2 years ago, everybody said was impossible because of the nature of physics. Electrons cannot do these sorts of things across a distributed consensus. For the smallest small blockers, the BTC people, I recall them saying that 2 megabyte blocks would break the network forever. And then 8 megabyte blocks would break the, maybe it's possible, but everything would break. And then the Bitcoin cachers, about 2 years ago, I recall some of their network engineers over at Bitcoin Cash saying that 22 megabytes is the absolute peak. You cannot do more than 22 megabytes using the Bitcoin protocol across the network because it's an absolute physical limit. It's like the speed of light or the law of gravity. You can't get around it. And well, the average block size the last day or so is between 50 and 75 megabytes per block. This is the average block size. And this includes some large token payments and some images and some other things, but some of them are full almost entirely with micropayments. And that's the other thing that they said was absolutely impossible, is that you can't have a block full of micropayments that's bigger than that 22 megabyte block. The propagation won't work. You can't validate it in time. It's going to bring your block time up and cause all these problems. Well, we have proven them wrong. We have had blocks that are 2,000 megabytes. This is 2 gigabytes for the unengaged. And they settle just fine. The block time does not go up. And they make their way across all nodes and everything is just fine. So thank you, Crypto Fights, for showing us what's possible with micropayments and big blocks and all of that. Getting people to use the Crypto Fights software has shown what Bitcoin is capable of in the micropayments and NFT space. And then also the folks over at Meta ID, which is a subset of the MetaNet protocol, where people are burning a certain amount of BSV to mint a token, and then the token can be used in some other aspect of their DeFi ecosystem. So they're basically creating a costly signal on top of a costly signal by paying to mint these large, basically dog photos. But they're paid transactions, and it's people that are burning that money because they want to participate in that ecosystem. So it's almost entirely organic traffic. It's not some kind of stress test. It's not anything like that. These are people that are voluntarily using the network because they either enjoy using it for just play, or they have some economic reason to attempt to goof around. And that's awesome. I'm very excited about all of that. This is in contrast to the news that we saw from Blockstream over the last 24 hours. They have raised $210 million. It's a very big Series B. And then they announced who the VC partners are. And the big one is iFinex Corporation. If you're not familiar with iFinex, iFinex is the parent company of both Bitfinex Exchange and Tether Corporation. So what does this mean? It means essentially that Blockstream was able to raise money from the proceeds of whatever it is that that Tether is up to, which little concerning. Part of the deal also contains some ongoing business relationship with Square and the development of a Blockstream ASIC mining piece of hardware, which, in my opinion, likely won't happen. I feel like it's one of those things that sounds like a good idea, looks good on a pitch deck, and then ultimately you raise the money, you do something else, you make a little bit of money back on some other stuff, and then you don't build the thing that it makes a lot more sense to build in China. So I think that that's probably what's going on over there, but it also shows a little more of what's going on with the cabal of Copa, Tether, and their whole thing. So not good in the long term, but they're going to celebrate. Adam Back is going to continue to remind people that he was sourced in the white paper. Hey, did you know? Did you know I'm that guy that was sourced by Satoshi Nakamoto in the Bitcoin white paper? Good times, everybody. So, Mr. Moon, if you could cue up the advertisement. I'm sure we have an advertisement because we have such delightful sponsors here. And when the ad finishes, we will come back with Joe DePinto from Haste Arcade, and we're going to talk about everything they're up to. So please get your questions ready for Mr. DePinto or anything. I mean, if you want to talk about anything in the Bitcoin ecosystem, he's a guy whose face you don't see a whole lot. He's not on Twitter and not in a whole lot of places where you can bug him, which is why he's been busy working and able to get some stuff done, I imagine. So please get your stuff ready. We'll be back with Joe. Alex, play the ad.
Imagine in 1997 paying for something with your watch. Remember the last time you used cash? The world has been digitized. Almost.
Cash was once seen as the last bastion for reform, but now is on the decline. Digital transactions have outcompeted hard currency since 2017 in the UK, but breakthrough bold technologies like blockchain have revolutionized more than just money.
Disruptive technologies call for disruptive lawyers, ones that not just accept the current, but find new ways of interpreting the law. We are currently the only global law firm with a real track record in the area of Bitcoin and blockchain. We are results-driven and care only about securing the best possible result for our clients.
We trace the supposedly untraceable. We pioneer the future of law. We deliver new solutions. We are law changers.
Thank you, Antier, for the ad. Mr. Joe DePinto, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Kurt.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start right out the gate. Haste exploded onto the scene, 6 months ago, 7, 8, 9 months ago, something. All of a sudden, Haste Arcade, and everybody's tapping the phone and trying to make the thing work. Let's hear a little bit of backstory. I would love to hear how'd you get into like gaming conceptually, why blockchain conceptually, then why BSV? If you could give us like the 2-minute version of that story.
Is there a 2-minute version of that story?
I mean, take 10 if you want it. You know?
I'll do my best. and I want to say, obviously, like, I was fortunate enough to go to Zurich and speak there. But Haste is a team. There's 4 of us at this point. Myself, Dan Wagner, who has been on a couple other like podcasts and whatnot. And then there's 2 guys that no one actually knows about, Eric and Keith LaForce, co-founders. They're more on the development side, so they kind of keep their heads down and work quite a bit. But in essence, where Haste kind of came about, and when we launched it back in January, we weren't planning on building out an arcade. It was Dan and I in our office here late one night working on another actual like company that we run back since 2015 called BarPay. But we'd always been like obsessed with microtransactions. And so Dan and I started paying attention to Bitcoin and blockchain back in 2015, 2016. So before you had the hard forks. And we were just interested in this notion of like, wow, you can send, money basically for free, as opposed to what we had been learning about with our first venture, which had a lot to do with credit card processing. So with, what we were learning about blockchain, was like, wow, it'd be really cool if someday we can incorporate this into our, current venture. So time goes on, we follow the whole ICO boom and bust, the BCH fork, the BSV fork. And to us, it just, we could never really put our mind around like, why are people investing in something that they're not like interested in using, or it's not like a stock necessarily. Like there isn't a board of directors that I can go to and expect like, hey, this is what we're projecting for Q4. So from our perspective, it's like, all right, it's not a stock. Like what can we use this for? And really, I guess just that January night, we were sitting in the office and it was, how come people aren't getting this? How many different people could we, send a fraction of 10 cents to? And at that point, Handcash had just released their developer SDK. Dan does some programming. And so he was just kind of playing around with that. And he was like, I think there's a way we could basically take, 5 or 10 cents and send it to 100 or 200 people all at once and send it in fractions of a penny. And once we figured that out, I was like, all right, well, what's the trigger for this going to be? And sure enough, it was like, well, what if you just like tap a button as fast as you can? And when you tap it, you get a score. Other people that tap that button, they get a score. So now if you're in this game and you've made, this leaderboard with your score, you're going to get a little piece of, every other gameplay after that. So that was like the whole initial concept. It was just about, what can we do to show people microtransactions are real? You can use them in real world things. And what's kind of turned out from all that, the reception we've gotten from the community, obviously, like I said, getting to go to Zurich was incredible. Getting to meet you in the lobby, Kurt, it was funny. I was walking through there and I saw you and I think Luke from Tonic Pal and Michael Hudson. And I was like, oh my gosh, I recognize these people. Like, this is so cool. And then I was just standing there and you're like, yeah, who are you? I was like, I'm Joe. But yeah, so obviously BSV, after following the forks, obviously like we're well aware of the drama and whatnot, but really with what we care about, it's that, and I think I'm actually a fairly decent example of this. I'm not on Twitter, so I don't really get sucked into all the different, people on Twitter saying this or that about BSV or BTC or Ethereum or whatever. I'm trying to take a more broad view of things. It's like, look, there are people within that space that are very, vested and very passionate about what they're saying. But there's also a huge market out there that has no idea and doesn't really care about who Satoshi is. They'll never look it up. They'll never even realize like, who invented the internet? Is that really something that people care about that much? I personally don't think so. So part of our goal has been, how do we get people to start using blockchain in the mainstream, in the real world? And how do we not necessarily hide or disguise that we're using BSV? But if that's not, that doesn't need to be like the main, driving factor, in my opinion. I think the main driving factor should be the cool things you can actually do with this blockchain. And like we always say, we're in a round of financing right now. Investors, a lot of them say, oh, well, if they've heard of crypto, like, well, BSV seems to have a lot of, question marks surrounding it. We're like, yeah, we don't disacknowledge that. But if you can find us a blockchain, a proof of work blockchain that can do the things that we're doing on Haste, like, please let us know. Like, we would love to find one. But the truth is, it is only BSV. So that's basically how we ended up here. It's the only chain that we could use for what we wanted to do. And we do believe that it sticks to the principles of the white paper and what, Bitcoin was initially created to do. And that's, it's cash, it's peer-to-peer cash.
Right. No, absolutely. It's funny because I think a lot of people have a similar journey. Like I don't know hardly anybody in the BSV economy that didn't have like, 2015 and 16, like, oh, Ethereum's cool. Let's see what what can it do? And then every other thing, they jump into, and now there's, 10,000 different chains and coins that all do something really well. And then, then ultimately it's like, but here's the giant compromise I'd have to make technologically to work with this blockchain. And truly it's interesting because BSV's only real limitation is a social limitation. It's like a political thing. It's like, oh shoot, I took should I take a picture with Donald Trump or with Joe Biden and have it'd be really great to meet somebody that's so well known, but there's the baggage that goes with it, and at the end of the day, I mean, you need to make a business decision based on could your product even work on another blockchain? And I think there are probably some that you could, hack your way through it. It'll work up to a certain point and whatever, but then, that has its limits, obviously. So, and
even there, I mean, you think about the wallets, like, in my opinion, Handcash has done a really good job. I think everybody in BSV knows that point, but yeah, that's another major piece of it. It's like, is there another Handcash even on one of these other blockchains? Right. And that's going to be really hard to find too. So
yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. I got a question here from Scott Schroeder asking, what systems does Haste have in place to prevent bots from gaming the system? I remember this was the early question that everyone's like, well, I could just put a mask in the browser and, reveal the dot early, basically, I think is.
So, yeah. So, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not on the technical side of things per se. I know that right now what we're currently doing, obviously what's up right now is an alpha platform. And we have like the reCAPTCHA that was to prevent, our best attempt, at least in the early stages, from preventing any sort of cheating. We have had people who, people come up with strategies. There's one guy in the arcade who, I don't know if you've seen, at any point in the last month or so, but he basically owns every single leaderboard spot in one of the levels. And we look at the data, and to be honest, like we have two things. We have the reCAPTCHA, we have a manual process as well that will basically flag, times that are subhuman times. So things that we had to research and study, like what's the reaction time of a human being, visually to the finger tap, etc. So like we have factors in place that will flag certain times that are lower than what like I said, the subhuman time would be. That's not necessarily things that we're going to post on the site, like what that actual number is. Otherwise, I think that would give people a target to look at. Yep. But in essence, it's that. But when the beta platform goes ahead and launches, which will be at some point, it looks like mid to late September. So that's coming quite soon. There's a whole lot more security built into that. That's actually something that's being done, not hosted on, just a website building platform. That's being built by real developers. There's going to be checks. There's going to be certain things that when game developers submit their games to the arcade, it has to meet like certain vetting standards from their side and based on how they build it. So yeah, obviously, when there's money being played with, we do need to have that to have like a lot of security on that stuff.
No, for sure. It's funny. A buddy of mine, a guy that I got into BSV, was number one on the leaderboard, and he tagged me on Facebook and was like, "Oh my God, I'm number one!" And then he's getting paid. He's getting the constant pings back. He's like, "Oh, this is incredible!" I was like, "Bro, like you should record a reaction video and send it." He's like, "Yeah, good." But he was like freaking out.
Well, so did he use your referral link?
That's that's a good question. I imagine he probably did, but
you could have been celebrating too then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's the other genius part of your model is like there's two ways to win, and like you can be the guy that signs a lot of people up, and today you get paid in the HST token, which I think is cool. It's less cool, I think, than getting the constant pings on my hand cash, but I understand business development decisions. Strictly
for you, I know some people on the development team here. I told them maybe it would make sense to at least give the users the option based on some of your feedback. So we'll see. I don't want to give away too many secrets for what could be coming out in beta. But yeah, I think with what we have out right now, the alpha platform, that was all proof of concept. You're going to see a lot more features and things you can actually do with the HST as well. Like you're going to be able to redeem it, obviously, like you can right now from BSV. But, more short-term / long-term roadmap. There will be other things, it'll be like a prize board at any arcade. There hopefully will be cool products that are blockchain related that you can use it with. We've toyed with the idea of giving like HST tokens actual voting rights on, game developers submit a game. The people that hold the tokens, is this a game that should be allowed into the arcade, et cetera, that type of thing. So all things that we're considering. We want to continue to give as much value and utility to those tokens as possible, not just something that people are, speculating on.
Right. No, for sure. Get a question here from KP Dad U450. Is Haste working on live head-to-head games?
So right now, I guess the notion of head-to-head is, you're playing against people that are on a leaderboard. But in terms of what's going on with the beta platform, when that launches, that's going to depend on the developer. So we've said this in the past, like we're not necessarily, only focused on creating games. The key piece for us was building out this SDK to get true game developers in there. And if they have a head-to-head game and there's some type of leaderboard, yes, then in theory, like the SDK that we're creating would be something that they'd be able to basically plug into their game and then give the user the opportunity to say, hey, I want to play in ILP mode, so instant leaderboard payout mode, or I just want to play the traditional way. So that's basically how we're envisioning it. We will have our own game developers also. That is one of the first people that we're going to bring on board to be able to put out, probably some retro type games that, if it is head to head, so be it. But yeah, that's basically, we're looking more to bring outside game devs on and give them the ability to use ILP with their games.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. So when you mentioned the beta, so it's funny that you say that it's an alpha, because I think Haste is really great. Like, I've not had a problem with it that would indicate that it is an alpha level piece of software. So, kudos to you guys. The beta, is that separate from the SDK that you guys have been talking about for a while, or are those two separate products, or what are we?
So well, first off, credit to Dan. Like, he built the alpha all by himself, and he'll tell you, he's a self-taught programmer going back about 2 years at this point. But he's one of those people who, when he locks into something, he'll sit at his desk for 7 days without getting up to get a glass of water or anything like that. Like, he's 400% in. But basically, when we reference the beta, that will be, a completely separate platform for game developers and gamers that will have the SDK included in it. So basically, that's what we've been working to get to, is a platform that's not just available on mobile. Like right now on Alpha, you can only play the games if you're on your phone. You couldn't do it on a computer.
Right.
But really open it up for the true gamers, the people who are gaming from PCs, from consoles, from their phone, sure. But yeah, in terms of what's coming out, we call it a beta just because that's what our developers are basically calling it. That's how they would describe it.
For sure. So my next question then, if we're looking at the SDK, my first thought is what are other good games out there, like totally not blockchain related, that you could be pursuing? So this is like biz dev, maybe a piece of advice, maybe it's a question, I don't even know, but it's coming out of my head as we speak. I picture a Haste salesman reaching out to the various game companies. I mean, this could be everybody from like, EA Games or whoever that's putting out like Madden football every year and these things. Be like, hey, if you'd like to have an integration where people can get micropayments based on, all kinds of betting, I'm picturing like, okay, if the Buccaneers are able to get 12 yards in the next snap, you get a payout for that. You can bet on that kind of thing. So the kind of like micro betting that you see people do in bar games and such, which is something I know you guys are keen on. Is that the kind of thing that is possible with the SDK, or am I thinking too granular, or am I thinking maybe even too big about it?
No, I think that's definitely possible. I will say at the beginning, at least, the games that we're going to be allowing into the arcade we're going to try and stay away from quote unquote traditional gambling as much as possible. And what we're basically doing to define that would be, is your game a game of chance? Basically, is there a random number generator that has a massive outcome of the game, or is it a game of skill? Is it something that you can practice, every single day and get better at? So in terms of betting, like, are we going to gain 12 yards this play? I don't know if you can actually get better than that. But what I will say is, in the long term, I do think that would be, that type of gambling or sports betting would be something we would want to incorporate. For the shorter term, what I see happening, you mentioned EA Games. What our strategy is, it's like you said, it's to partner with, game companies, whether it's EA Games or, there's professional sports games companies now who will actually keep gamers on salary, sponsor them to play in like Call of Duty tournaments. So it's going to be doing partnerships with those people, getting them to have their players, on Twitch while they're playing, live streaming. Hey, by the way, come play against me on, call it Snake or, Pong on the Haste Arcade. See if you can beat my score. Click this link for a referral. So yeah, it's going to be using those types of channels. Obviously, like CoinGeek has been really helpful with us and kind of guiding us with their connections to the online gaming and gambling industries. But yeah, it's going to be part of our marketing strategy. And I guess something that we've talked about internally for a while was there haven't been a whole lot of blockchain crypto related companies that have actually spent like significant money marketing to the mainstream other than, your exchanges like Coinbase or Gemini or whatever. Right. We want to be a company that there is a massive gaming market, and the majority of these people are used to doing some type of digital payment already within their games. We want to go after those, 2+ billion people and see how many are at least interested in this concept. And then from a game dev standpoint, what I think is really cool is, say, you go to an EA Games or something like that. I think it might take a little bit of usage and building up a user base before you can get their attention. But any game developer in this example is like, look, you have your traditional model where you sell Madden for $60 every year and you have your customers coming back. So you have like pretty much a SaaS model at that point. You have your games where it's freemium, you can play for free and then you buy your upgrades within the game or whatever. And then you have your free games where they're doing advertising. So you're seeing those pop-ups, right? Those are the three main revenue models right now for game devs. We're just going to try and convince them, hey, there's now a fourth option. There's a fourth way for you to generate revenue. It's by implementing this ILP, because for being the game developer, you are going to get, one of those outputs from every play. And I think that's something you could basically build into any one of those other models, whether it is the $60, Madden game, or the freemium Angry Birds, or, the games on addictinggames.com that have, an advertisement beforehand. So that's where I think, from a game dev standpoint, we're going to have to try to convince them, look, there's another way you can make money. Let's at least give it a shot.
Fascinating. No, I think that's, first of all, I think it's really cool. But secondly, I think having an SDK as part of the early part of your roadmap before you're even in beta, all of that, I think is brilliant, because you don't know what other ideas other people are going to come up with. Like somebody might look at Haste and think of something that's brilliant that you guys never thought of, but then, they get to run it on your engine and then, everybody's happy, right?
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely the hope.
So that's awesome. I got a question here from Demban. I don't know if that's a real name or if it's something that I'm not privy to, but what does the player card have right now? Or why, sorry, I can't read today. Why does the player card has right now no benefit for the player who minted it, or is there now a benefit? Basically, what the hell can I do with the player card?
Yeah. Yeah, well, since it was minted, basically the person that mints that card, whoever holds it, let me backtrack. If you mint the card, you can go ahead and then list your card for sale on our little marketplace exchange. And the reason why someone would want to purchase your card is this. Whoever's holding that card is automatically going to get 10% of all the gameplay output from that player. So for example, my card, the Joey D card, if I own that card and I go and spend, 10,000 Satoshis, okay, in one of the games in Haste Arcade, since I hold my card, I'm going to get 1,000 of those Satoshis back. I'm going to get 10% of my spend. Now, if you were to offer me, call it 1 Bitcoin for my card, and I say, yeah, you know what, I need some cash right now, I'll sell you my player card for 1 Bitcoin. Now, every time I play, you are going to get that 10% of output that my card is entitled to. So we call it like an output NFT, basically. You're purchasing the ability to get 10% of whoever holds that player's card's output. So I would say the benefit, if you mint the card, obviously, yes, you're getting basically like a 10% rebate. But also, if you play a lot, you can list your card in this marketplace for whatever price you want. And if people want to speculate on how much Joe's going to play in the future, and yeah, you know what, I'll pay 1 BSV for that card right now, because over the long run, I think Joe's going to spend 20 BSVs in this arcade. Now I just made 2 BSV. So that's what the main benefit is. Again, we are thinking for the beta there will be other things that we add in terms of benefits to holding these types of things. For example, like if you're a game dev and you hold a player card, maybe there's something where you submit a game, you get an extra kickback now for minting your own card, stuff like that. So a lot of different things that are on the roadmap. But for now, yeah, it's that 10% and then you being able to sell it in the marketplace.
That's really interesting. I like that. And it reminds me, yesterday, Roger Taylor, who's the developer of Electrum SV, I saw him comment and say, I've never seen anything valuable ever done with an NFT. Like, he just thinks they're worthless. Like, they're scammy, which is fair because most of them are. But I think that's actually, that's a really good use right there. It's integrated into your existing economy.
You mean you wouldn't pay 1.4 million for an ETH rock?
No, I would not. So I know it's fascinating, right? And it's like, it looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint 20 years ago too.
It's crazy.
Or these, the Pudgy Penguins, or Visa just announced that they bought one of the Ethereum Punk NFTs, and it's like, what value does that have? Like, what are we doing with this technology?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Here's DSP28.net, another guy who I met in Zurich and was an awesome dude. saying, let's say lots of devs submit games. How are you going to deal with the game explosion?
So that's Dusan. What's up, Dusan? Good to hear from you, brother. Yeah, to be honest, that is something that like we have weekly calls about this very topic. It's like if there is a tremendous amount of traffic that comes on immediately, what our short-term roadmap does is our first key hires are going to be support and programming. So basically, the way that the system is going to work, at least at the initial launch, is you'll be able to submit your game as a dev to the arcade, and as you submit it, there's certain like checkboxes that will automatically like be hit. So in essence, you're going to have to, attest that your game, like I said, isn't like based on a random number generator, isn't a game of chance, etc. Obviously can't have like explicit materials or anything like that in it. Sure. And if it meets all those, it will get actually vetted by a real human being in the very beginning. And if there is a backlog, like, to be honest, that's a great problem for us to have. That's something that, the roadmap would say we're going to start hiring more support people and more programmers to make sure that all these games that are being submitted are getting vetted, in a somewhat timely manner. But, for the initial rollout, like we get about 1 or 2 game devs a week now wanting to submit games. And so far, it hasn't really been an issue. Like our dev team has actually been working with these people and keeping like a pretty open line of communication. So while they're developing, they're not going to hit those bumps when they submit the game and it's like, oh, this is no good for 10 or 12 different reasons. Hopefully the idea would be that once they submit it, especially because of how hands-on our guys are being at the start, most games should get a fairly quick turnaround time to either being approved or declined.
Sure. That's awesome. Well, and then you've got games to play with some algorithm to figure out like popular games and featured games and all the things that, people talk about, like the UI aspect of app stores and that kind of thing, which actually gives you another opportunity to make money too. You could have people pay like a listing fee or whatever too. So that's interesting. I think that's I'm excited. Where do I invest?
Yeah, tell me about it. Kurt, the round's open. We'll send you
all right. Perfect. Yeah, send me a T-shirt too. It'd be great.
Yeah, you got it.
HV asking, do we have Tetris on BSV? Does this exist? I don't know if it does. I've played the 2048. That's fun.
We got 2048. I would say go build it and submit it to the arcade. I know, like I said, our initial kind of beta platform, one of the things we will be doing is hiring an in-house game dev to basically build out, a lot of those retro type games, the Tetrises, the Snakes, the Pac-Mans of the world. Yeah. But at the same time, if there's other devs that are out there who want to start working on this stuff, like, yeah, absolutely. I would encourage to build it.
Yeah, for sure. That actually, so I mean, I was a little less than half kidding about the investment thing, but is Haste actually accepting funding? Are you looking for partners in that? Is that something people can look up, or should they get in contact with you if they're interested?
Yeah, I guess the best way, if you are interested, it would be to DM us on Twitter. But to be honest, so our goal and our strategy hasn't really been to take on capital. I guess this kind of came about because after, we put the initial game out there, we had some success. We had a lot of people, excited for what we were doing. And it got us to the point where it's like, okay, we could probably build a platform around this. The game itself is cool, but this whole ILP concept, being able to send micropayments like this is where we think the real value and gold is going to be, whether that's in gaming or you have like loyalty programs down the road, you have supply chains. You could apply it to a lot of different industries. So once we started mapping that out, our 2 developers who came on as co-founders, like I mentioned, Eric and Keith, we all felt comfortable with at least getting to where we're at right now without any capital and launching, the original Haste Arcade with the SDK to get the game developers in there. But just talking through some of our other advisors, obviously like Dan and I running this BarPay company, we had to talk to our investors there and tell them, hey, there's this kind of passion project that we didn't really plan on it getting legs, but it grew legs and started sprinting on its own. So what do you think we do? And fortunately, like we've surrounded ourselves with pretty good people who have been eager to help us. And, they said, if you guys do need capital, we can do this, this, and this. Obviously, we have a network from our previous venture who's, like I said, been more than happy to finance as well. But if you are, I mean, this isn't like a public offering or anything like that. I would just say go ahead and DM the Haste Twitter And if we get to the point, I know that we're going to be basically finishing everything up by the end of August, so just over a week at this point. But yeah, I mean, if you are interested, we'll definitely send you the information. We're happy to talk and move forward if it makes sense.
Very cool. So we got it's funny, I'm reading the comment box, the troll box over here, and there's, I mean, everybody's always curious about all kinds of things that, you know, maybe I didn't think of or whatever. But bringing up the TappyTaco going on over at Twetch, was that related to you guys at all, or did they develop that themselves in house?
They did that on their own, which I thought was pretty cool, to be honest. Like Twetch, obviously, we've looked up to them and kind of followed them, obviously, since BSV became a thing. And I think between them and the BSV 2048, it reinforced to us, like, you know what, there is something here. I think it's something that, you know, Twetch, are they going to be the ones that build out a full arcade with the type of SDK and capabilities that we're thinking of for gamers? Like, they already have X, Y, and Z that they're focused on. You know, BSV 2048, you've got the Unbounded guys over there. They've got a bunch of other things they're focused on as well. At that point, we kind of felt like, you know, we're in a good position. There is market validation. There's other people doing the same thing because they think it's, you know, valuable. But we could be the ones that really focus on the gaming side of things. And I think like Crypto Fights right now is doing an unbelievable job of demonstrating that as well and getting transactions on chain. It's been like really awesome seeing how many transactions they're putting on chain. It's insane. So I think with us, with Crypto Fights, you know, seeing what Twetch did, and I would hope that eventually we can get TappyTaco using our ILP and maybe work with Twetch on some of that. But yeah, I think overall it was a really, you know, positive sign for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that begs the next question. One of my best friends in the space is Luke from Tonic Pow. We talk all the time, and one of his things that he says is like, nothing in Bitcoin should be siloed. Like, there should be no reason that TappyTaco cannot integrate with Haste. And then, you know, and can't even, you know, maybe integrate it with something like completely unrelated. Like, you could be shipping fish with, you know, Unisat's technology and like also integrating. Like, why can't everything interact with everything else? And it's because, you know, people choose various, like, well, I'm going to stick to Run protocol versus Stas tokens or all these different things. But like, how easy would it be to have everybody's games integrate into the same leaderboard technology? I mean, is that a couple of clicks? Does it just require a few handshakes, or, you know, what do we got to do to make something like that happen?
I guess we'll find out when the SDK gets launched just how good it is. But to put it in perspective, the way that we've gone about building it and what we've wanted to do with it is, if you're familiar with Stripe at all, I mean, that's a company that maybe people have heard of, but they're massive in like the digital payment credit card processing space. And what they did was they basically built the cleanest documentation, the cleanest APIs. Like, if you want to integrate their software with whatever you're building, like, it's literally a handful of line of code, and it's in there. And that's what we want to do. So like you said, whether it's a game developer, whether it's a supply chain, whether it's a loyalty program, like, we want it to be so straightforward and simple and clear that basically any game dev, you know, can come to the SDK, and I don't know like how long the actual timing on this stuff takes, but maybe call it like a day, be able to take our code, plug it into, you know, their what they've already written, and have ILP gaming as one of the possibilities, one of the modes for their gamers. So that's really the goal. It's to get it to be as straightforward and streamlined as possible from the game devs. That's what we've been working on the last 4 or 5 months. That's why new games haven't come out. That is the sole focus. Because we want to attract, you know, the best games in the world and make it really easy for them to get into this ILP platform.
All right, smart. I like it. Sorry, doing a little bit of side research here.
I see that question right there. The LinkedIn user. Yeah. Interesting name. Real world sports combined with Haste.
Right.
So here's someone
sounds German. Right?
Yeah. So
hello.
On that aspect, there's a company that reached out to us. We're actually put in touch with them through Bitcoin Association. And in essence, what they are building is a little like chip that's going to go in golf balls. And so what the original purpose was that when you hit the golf ball, you know, if you're a bad golfer like I am, typically you're in the rough, you're in the woods, you're in a lake, wherever. the closer you get to the ball, you can pull up your phone and it'll start like beeping. So it's kind of like a ball tracker. So if my ball is lost in the woods, now I can at least kind of get an idea, like as I get closer, my phone starts beeping faster and faster. Well, what they were saying is the data that they're going to be able to capture because of that chip, they're going to be able to capture like distance, spin rate, accuracy, what you're aiming at, etc. So what we were thinking of is, okay, well, let's say like I play golf and I have this application on my phone and I'm using this golf ball. Well, if there's like an online gaming portion of this app, and I think I can hit the ball pretty far, like maybe I spend a quarter to go on the long drive for that day. And now every time I hit the ball, my score is automatically being submitted to this game that I had, chosen on the app. So in my opinion, that would be a real world sports example of both using like our ILP, which is obviously using BSV, and then combining that with, people who are physically playing something.
Fascinating. So you turn your real life into a video game.
Yeah, Ready Player One.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually brilliant. And one of the things that I've written about in the past is I like to drive, like driving cars. Like it's and motorcycles are really anything with an engine. But like for me, it's always like I time myself. I count the cars I'm passing. Like my wife says I'm completely insane, but like when I drive, I'm always like, well, I want to see net on this trip. How many cars do I pass versus how many cars pass me? And, it's just some manic, there probably is actually something wrong with me, but to gamify the driving experience, for example, is to just treat it like, well, I guess we encourage speeding. So this probably wouldn't be a good thing to play, but you could play games like that too, just in real life to allow people based on proximity to earn points doing, any menial task, anything that's a little bit mindless, which I guess you also shouldn't drive mindlessly, but
yeah,
probably a bad example. But there's all kinds of other things that in theory you could gamify like that.
I think you're on the right track there too. I mean, we've thought about it. Just in Kurt doesn't follow speed limits. Nice. But think about like a business, for example. You have a sales department, and let's say you budget, $5 million for your sales hiring, for your sales salaries. Well, instead of saying, I'm going to pay Joe 150, I'm going to pay Kurt 250, I'm going to pay so-and-so 200, etc., you could now say, we're going to hire 100 people and we're going to have 100 outputs for this $5 million. The amount of sales that you generate is going to equal the number of spaces on that output that you take. So yeah, there's a ton of like ways you could incorporate this into real world things, whether it's silly things like, trying to drive faster than everybody else, or, actually trying to work it into business models so you can determine exactly what your spend's going to be for
the Darwinian wage model.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying there's things that have gone through my mind. So
well, I mean, like you could break it. So I used to work in a factory actually. So through most of my high school years and stuff, I worked in printing and packaging. So there are those kinds of menial things where it's like we need to stuff thing A into the box and we need to get X amount done per hour, and we would work in teams and stations. So in theory, you could dole out bonuses to whoever does the best per shift or that kind of thing. So there are opportunities there that could be pretty cool. Always going to get in trouble here. LinkedIn, our dear friend LinkedIn user, when muscle fit Haste shirts?
I mean, Kurt, you might have just got one of those in the mail. I'm not sure, but
I've yet to try it on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you're fighting, hopefully we can be your sponsor. But yeah, when we do have we ordered some apparel. I think we're going to make the HST once the beta platform launches. You're going to be able to redeem HST for shirts, stuff like that. So the muscle shirts, I don't know. I guess I'll ask the guys about that if that's something we want to do. These are more just normal T-shirts that we got, but we'll see.
Sounds good to me. Here's a good comment. Richard Chalmers, this could be the new grocery store supermarket shopping rewards card format.
Exactly.
That's the other thing. Like you can gamify in-store experiences. You can gamify experiences at like the mall or at a festival or at a concert. These kind of things, like combined like scavenger hunt, gaming, and that kind of thing. Or even just pop up. Like you allow people to do like just have a bunch of iPads and they get to go play games against each other, and then whoever makes it out, like you get some kind of prize. It can be physical prizes or whatever too, so you can turn it into like carnival games and stuff. It's exciting. I'm super excited about Haste. So I
know it's been months of us saying, this SDK is coming. We're excited. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And now, I mean, I've seen it at this point. Like the platform is stood up. The beta is. So when it actually becomes, open to the public at the end of September-ish, right before CoinGeek New York, I think it's going to be really cool timing. And there are a couple bigger things that we'll announce at that time. I'm not going to steal the show from those guys, but there are some things we've been working on in conjunction with other companies as well that I think is going to help us. Like I said, our goal is let's start getting blockchain out in the mainstream, people using it without even knowing necessarily that they're using it. And that's what I think, some of our announcements will be tied towards, and the things that we're doing from a marketing side of what we want to get done, during this initial rollout. For
sure. So that leads to another question. When will we be seeing you? There's events going on all over the next several weeks and months here into October. I guess really the next 6 weeks. There's going to be a number of opportunities for you to be appearing. Where can we see you in person, Joe?
So I will be in Miami for the event on September 1st. It looks like we want Eric and Keith to kind of get their face out there a little bit also. I mean, these are two extremely accomplished developers who, Haste is more than just myself and Dan, and we want people to realize this isn't just two guys on their passion project. This is a company that's being built with people who have done this before. So I believe Keith is going to go on the 8th of September up to New York for that conference. And then Eric, based on the scope of the conversation and the panel that's going to be going on at actual CoinGeek New York, I think Eric's going to be on that panel with, like I said, the other panelists who would be up there in New York in October. So you'll see Haste, you'll see us represented at all these events coming up. I know there's also a charity event that I've talked to Patrick Thompson a little bit about. We would love to, contribute Haste outputs basically to anything that goes on during that event in New York in early October as well. So yeah, I mean, you'll see me the first. You'll see at least one other Haste member on the 8th in New York, and then obviously in October you'll see us again.
Well, very cool. I will see you in Miami first of all. But anybody watching, if you haven't signed up, we're doing all kinds of events around the country over the next 6 weeks. So please sign up for the Miami event, the New York event, and then ultimately the CoinGeek conference will be in New York. Tickets are all available all over the place. If you want to click through my profile, I got Tonic Pow links up on my Twitter. So I would appreciate anybody who signs up to please sign up using my links for the sake of feeding my children, and just come hang out. I think we're going to do a bunch of cool stuff together. Joe, I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person. So that's it's going to be good.
More spa time. Let's get back in the spa.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure out where's the best spa in Miami. That could be. I don't imagine that'd be challenging. They seem like a town that would have some spa space. So that'll be good. Any closing thoughts? Anybody that deserves a shout out, or anybody that anything like that?
I want to, if I'm going to thank people, just for the support, it would be the whole BSV community. People here, it's funny. Like I said, I don't keep up with Twitter all that much. And so when I'm hearing about people attacking BSV because of the 51% attacks, or, just the general nonsense that goes on, seeing this community, it's been really cool, and how people, just kind of take it in stride. I think the companies that are building on this blockchain, we all know that it's this is one of the risks that we took, but I would assume, the same thing with Tonic Pow, the same thing with Brightview. It's these companies, they can't exist anywhere but on BSV. So, I know that we've worked closely with the Handcash guys lately. CoinGeek's been great to us. Obviously, Eric, Keith, and Dan are doing an incredible job, on the actual Haste forefront. I think, everything we've been able to do so far has been because people have helped us along the way. And, we just hope that we can put out a great product for everybody to enjoy and help get BSV and blockchain used by more mainstream people.
Yeah, amen to that. There's also, you guys worked with the CoinGeek people a little bit on the online virtual event for CoinGeek New York. Can you give us a little insight into what people can expect to see there?
Yeah, so I guess Alex, after Zurich came to me and was basically talking about some of the complaints or concerns about the way that the leaderboard was working for that Nakamoto watch, and it's like it's a blockchain event, yet you can't really trace how people are getting points on chain. So that is one of the things that we're going to be able to do. It's basically going to be a leaderboard that it'll be Haste enabled. So if CoinGeek does want to do certain payouts, and I guess in the past, it's typically been there's just a set amount of BSV that they distribute to people on that leaderboard or to the person who has the most points from the most engagement during the conference. They'll be able to do that now through ILP, and then also kind of the secondary piece of that is that we will be able to show, okay, these interactions were on chain basically, so you'll be able to see so and so got these points. This is why. It wasn't just like they went in and gamed the system at the last second and leapfrogged the guy that was 1,000 points ahead of them. So yeah, we're really excited to have that opportunity to work with CoinGeek on that during the CoinGeek New York conference.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Joe. If you want to stick around, we'll pop you off the air. But if you wait, we can talk a little bit off the air after the show. But I want to thank you, first of all, for your friendship. It's good to know you, and secondly, for coming out and doing the live stream. I feel like it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad to have had you.
Definitely glad to be here. This is amazing. It's like I get to talk to my idols at this point. It's wild.
Well, thank you. No, seriously, I love it. I love the game. I've been a supporter of Haste since the day I saw it. So
yes, you have. I appreciate it.
Really cool to see your progress. I'm glad to see you guys trying to change the game again and again, and I'm pretty optimistic that you're going to really kick some ass over the next X amount of time here. So
much appreciated.
Thank you, sir. For sure. Talk soon. So everybody, that was Joe DePinto from Haste Arcade. Really, if you haven't played Haste, I posted an affiliate link actually on my Twitter. So join Haste, try to get yourself up on that leaderboard and have fun with it. I mentioned earlier, my buddy Davin got himself to the #1 spot on the leaderboard, and he was flipping out, posting screenshots on Facebook for the rest of the night about all the money that he was making just from other people playing underneath him, because the model there incentivizes you to compete and rewards you when you compete well, and that's really every good system. This is what we want in a proof of work system. Proof of work is a gamification of consensus. It's a gamification of security. That security is provided by people who get rewarded for securing something the best. And this is just gamification added back to gaming. And it's a really exciting development. Because it's simple. It's just a simple idea. Like, hey, why can't people be paid out micropayments when they win? And it was something that really couldn't work anywhere else. These are the kinds of little problems that Bitcoin solves. Fundamentally, this is the purpose of Bitcoin itself. And a lot of people still think that we, the Bitcoin SV community, are kidding around, or that we're not really playing the game to win, or trying to disrupt things that other people are trying to disrupt. But in reality, we're the only people that's doing real disruption in the real economy. These are real people playing real games for the sake of earning that Bitcoin. And Ethereum's got DeFi right now, and BTC's got all their the suits that they're trying to get to buy their coins and all of that. And those are the games they're playing. But in BSV, we're playing all kinds of games at once. We're doing everything, and that's thanks to guys like Joe and the rest of the team at Haste, who I've also met briefly, but Joe and I have become friends. And but I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of the guys and spending some one-on-one time, because once you've spent time in a sauna with a guy, that's it's a little hard to top for building those bridges right when you meet. So again, reminder, everybody, if you could please like, subscribe, share, let people know that we do these shows, that there is an Ask Me Anything, that we don't censor anybody's comments as long as they're legitimate questions and stuff. I'll answer anything you want. Scotch Horse asking, is Haste for mobile only? For the time being, the answer is yes. But it seems like with the SDK, they're going to be absolutely everywhere where there's a connection to the internet. So that would include, believe Joe even said consoles, but PC and everything else. So That's going to be pretty awesome. But please, again, with the like, subscribe, these are the things that help us. If you're looking to sponsor, we are accepting sponsorships from all kinds of people if you want to bust a move. So please help us with that. And then also join us at the events. We're doing one in Miami literally next week. So come join us for that. Then New York another week after. And then in October, we're going to do the big CoinGeek conference in New York. So I hope to see you there, everyone. I am grateful for your viewership. And once again, grateful to my wife for dealing with the children while I do these live streams every week at Tuesday at now 2 o'clock Eastern time, which is the same time, but it's different for me because I have moved officially to the great state of Florida. Everybody, thank you. I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr. This has been the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. Alex Moon, get ready to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Imagine in 1997 paying for something with your watch. Remember the last time you used cash? The world has been digitized. Almost.
Cash was once seen as the last bastion for reform, but now is on the decline. Digital transactions have outcompeted hard currency since 2017 in the UK, but breakthrough bold technologies like blockchain have revolutionized more than just money.
Disruptive technologies call for disruptive lawyers, ones that don't just accept the trend, but find new ways of interpreting the law. We are currently the only global law firm with a real track record in the area of Bitcoin and blockchain. We are results-driven and care only about securing the best possible result for our clients.
We trace the supposedly untraceable. We pioneer the future of law. We deliver new solutions. We are law changers.